Welcome to this week's Dissecting Design. I'm going back and taking a look at Pacman Championship Edition. This is the DX Plus or Game of the Year Super Fancy version. We did a play of the story in the Saturday Night Grab Bag, and after going through it, I realized this is a really great candidate for a Dissecting Design, as this is not only an amazing attempt at elevating a classic game, but also modernizing the design to make it feel something different while still holding on to what made the original Pac-Man such a great game. And this is definitely one of those games you should look at as a way of ways to elevate something that was commonly seen as very simplistic. And as we're going to go through it today, we're going to be showing off how the developers took the basic Pac-Man formula and really turned it on its head. But for those of you who don't know what Pac-Man is, I'll load up a starter level and we'll go over the basics. Alright, so chances are if you're watching this video right now, you know what Pac-Man is all about. But to go over the basics of the game, the rules are quite simple. Eat all the pellets, don't get caught by the ghosts, and repeat until the level is over. And that was the foundation for what made Pac-Man one of the most amazing or one of the best-selling arcade games of its time. Now, of course, the original Pac-Man wasn't as slow as this starting out, but it will certainly be picking up in a minute. Now, with the original one, the basic idea was simply just avoiding the ghosts, which are built on basic AI patterns, and expert players knew how to move it just right to exploit them. If you ever watch The King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters, they even did a segment on Pac-Man and how they were able to basically get to the kill screen. Now, I know you're probably watching the screen right now, but I'm actually not really paying attention all that much, because we'll be talking more about the advanced play in the next minute or so. Now, Pac-Man's basic gameplay in Championship Edition hasn't really changed all that much. You're still eating ghosts, you're still collecting all manner of pellets and fruit, and you're just trying to get through the level. Now, I'm sure for those of you who have been keeping an eye on the screen, you're probably noticing this is not your daddy's Pac-Man. And one of the things that Namco Bandai did from the start was try to figure out how do you elevate something like Pac-Man, a game that's now, at this point, I think it was over now like 30 years old, and something that just about every gamer has experienced and played. And what they did was basically, in some sense, make the game easier, but another way, make it more skill-based. But I think we've seen the pretty graphics enough, so I'm going to reload things, and we're going to talk about how Namco Bandai took things further. See you all in a second. Alright, welcome back. Now we're going to get into some of the fancy stuff, and hopefully I can do this while talking, playing, and trying not to die at the same time. But with Championship Edition, the first big change is kind of creating this sense of a progression in the levels. Normally you get all the pellets and the level ends and you move on to the next. In this one, we're staying on the same level, but the level itself is going to be changing as we get the pellets. If you're noticing, basically left to right we're getting different elements, and it's up to the player to process what's going on. And as we're doing that, we are picking up more and more ghosts that are trying to eat me. Bombs are kind of your safety mechanism, designed to hopefully keep you in the game without costing you a life. But as you can see, it's less about you essentially playing and just going by feel, and more about you figuring out the best line through the level. And then we repeat. As we grab the fruit or whatever object picks up, that resets. And of course it will reset harder, and of course faster and faster. Pardon me. Excuse me. And you can see the trail of ghosts coming to get me. And of course you want to wait for it to get as wide as possible in or as long as possible, so you get this massive, massive chain, which is just one hell of a feedback loop, isn't it? Alright, they're coming for me. Oh, they're coming for me. There we go. And instead of being focused on survival, it then becomes just a different power dynamic with you going for score purposes. Oh, jeez, how am I going to get that guy? There we go. Get in there, you. And this is just a very effective feedback loop as well, as you can see, of me gobbling them all up. Now, we'll talk about some more of the advanced tactics in our next section, but just appreciate how this is still the basic gameplay of Pac-Man. It's just been taking up a whole nother notch. Yup. Get in there, you. Oh, come on, can we get... As you can see, the ghost chain is getting bigger there. Can we get this big old gobble done? Let's see. And also notice that my speed is getting faster and faster. Feels good, doesn't it? And we're almost done with this play. Oh, jeez. Sometimes you go so fast it's hard to keep track, isn't it? Here we go again. But can we keep it going? I hope you noticed that little advanced tactic that I did there, because we'll be talking more about that in the next section. Come on, come on. Let's just bomb it. Ooh, that ain't good. Can we survive? At least one more minute. We shall see. And of course, there are definitely high score potential and rewards along those lines. And that's the major focus of Pacman Championship Edition. Oh, can we keep it going? Don't ask me how I just survived all that one, folks, because even I'm not sure of that. Alright, only 35 more seconds. Can we end with a bang, folks? Let's see. Almost there. This will probably be our one last big old gobble. But at least we'll end on a pretty big high note. 9, 8. Time is almost up. And that is game. Not a bad high score. Let's see how I did. Alright, top 5%. Wow. Top 1,000 of the players who did that score, I made it. So that wasn't too bad. Now, as you were watching that, you probably know some of the little advanced tactics of the game. So we're going to move on to our next video, and we're going to focus more on the little tricks that Namco Bandai implemented in order to kind of elevate Pac-Man's basic gameplay. Alright, for this one, we're not going to do the full 5 minutes. Instead, I want to focus more on the advanced tactics. Pac-Man obviously moves by himself. That does not change at all. So in order to give the player a little bit more of a control, if you notice that little, like, kind of burn or sliding action, that you can use it as you're heading into a turn, and it will increase Pac-Man's speed ever so slightly. The idea is to use it to get away from ghosts, or to try and give you that little extra momentum you need to get away from them. Now, another extra tactic is, while the levels are mirrored, or the designs are mirrored, the idea is you should be gathering as many ghosts as you can so that you can do this massive eat right here. Because as you can see, this is how you're going to get the bulk of your score. Now they're going to come back again. As you play through and you do a good enough job, as you can see, the game speed is getting higher in the bottom there. Yeah, I'm just trying to lure them into the same path to essentially control where they're going. Because if I can control where they're going, I can predict it and then move better. Oh. And this turns Pac-Man into more of a game about the best line rather than pure AI manipulation, which was a major part of professional play. Now, another thing that I like about Pac-Man DX is this. If you're about to get caught, you get the slowdown, giving you a chance to react. And this is a great thing, because not only does it give the game a sense of tension, but it also helps to alleviate the difficulty of the speed increase. Which in this one, I believe it goes up to 50% faster. Uh-oh, they're coming for me. And again, the basic element of Pac-Man, that is not changing in the slightest. We're not going to see Pac-Man, pick up a machine gun or get a mech suit anytime soon. We're still just doing the same thing, but how we're doing it has been elevated. So as you can see, we're still going along. Now I'm trying, even though it's not purely about AI manipulation, I'm still trying to do little tricks in order to make sure that the ghosts are going where I want them to go. Now if I die, basically we lose a life in the upper left, and our score multiplier gets hurt a little bit. But really, if you're playing Championship Edition well, the lives don't matter. Is he going? There we go. So you can see I did the slowdown effect to try and manipulate him to go in the way that I wanted him. Oh, they're coming for me. I see you there, buddy. Uh-oh. So even though the game is about basic gameplay, there are little things that will allow you to grow and get better at it. As you can see, as I am devouring a whole lot of ghosts in a single play there. And the game really is about how quickly you can process and make these adjustments. Because it definitely takes some doing, especially when you're on max speed like this. Pardon me, excuse me. Come on, folks, I'm trying to put on a show for the people watching. Again, making use of the bombs, because it's better to use a bomb than it is to lose a life. Okay, there I did the drifting to speed away from that ghost. And right now I'm just going to try and finish strong, even though I said I wasn't going to. This is, one of those games that has a really effective feedback. That makes you feel very powerful, as you can tell, when you can finally take revenge on the line of ghosts chasing you. Oh, we got one hit there. I don't know if we can recover in time, but we shall see. Probably not. I don't think I'm going to beat my high. If I wasn't talking, I could probably be concentrating a little bit better, but didn't get my highest score. That's the worst shame of all. But as you saw, with the use of the bombs and the corner sliding, it allows the game to have that little bit of a hardcore edge without making it complicated. In fact, the only addition in terms of control in Pacman Championship Edition is pressing the button to use the bomb. Everything else is just built into the same basic gameplay, and again, something that pretty much anyone who grew up playing video games knows about. Now, with that said, we'll talk a little bit about the few extra additions that Pacman Championship Edition adds, and then we'll talk about kind of, I think, where it falters just a little bit. But I'll see you all in a second. When it comes to playing Pacman Championship Edition, it's not, like I said at the beginning, about the same gameplay loop as the original. As in, I play a stage, we collect all the pelts, we move on to the next, rinse and repeat until either the game hits the dead screen, or we run out of quarters. In Championship Edition, it becomes more about the different modes and scoring. So, the main way of playing is, of course, a score attack, how much you can make in 5 minutes. Then there's a time trial of how quickly you can collect all the pellets and fruit. There's ghost combos about how long you can keep the combo of ghosts going, and so on and so forth. And as you do better in the game, you unlock more and more and more courses, including special variants like darkness, and things that mix things up further. There's even a free mode that lets you just play until basically something breaks. Either we get tired of it, or we run out of lives somehow. Let's see, do we even run out of lives in this? No, you don't. So this is just play the game until you decide to finally give up, or you've gotten enough of a buzz of playing. But the modes themselves do a good job, because again, even with the additions to the Championship Edition, this is still Pac-Man. And there's only so much you can do to Pac-Man without completely changing the structure of the game. Like we saw with the 3D Pac-Man games, there's an adventure Pac-Man game, and so on and so forth. And I think that's where my one big limitation or problem with Championship Edition comes into play. There just isn't a lot here unless you are focused on score chasing. Because the basic game is just about survival and time trial, you don't really get that appreciation of growing or the game changing over the course of a play. No new ghosts are introduced, no new game elements are added to a level other than the ones that are there from the start, like the darkness variant. What's been really interesting there is kind of like a master mode, that the game just keeps refitting the levels or randomly generating elements to make things different and forcing you to adapt on the fly. Kind of like, I could see it being like a speed run or professional expert mode kind of thing. As you can see, as we're playing, it just simply repeats the level on each side. Now, with that said, though, they did attempt to elevate things further with Championship Edition number 2 that came out, I believe, in, I want to say 2016, but I don't know 100%. But from what I've heard, it's not as good as the first one, removing the choice for the bomb as basically something that's automatic, which in a sense reduces the gameplay even further than it was before. And the thing is, this version has a really good feel to it. It just needs, I think, a little bit more in terms of trying to elevate it and give you a reason to keep playing, because I think that ultimately is what hurts this. I mean, I love playing this game. We did this on the stream and what I'm doing right now. But this is not something that I could see myself playing every day, day in and day out. There's just not enough variation to the design and to what I'm doing to make me want to do that. And now, to be fair, they definitely hit out of the park with the base content of the game. But it's kind of a shame that we didn't see the right kind of iterating on it with the second game. For those of you who have played it, I'm just wondering, did you reach a point like I did that you just felt like, I don't want to play this game anymore? Like, there's just not enough here to keep my attention. Because while I've been talking, I think I've been doing a reasonable job of paying attention to what we're seeing here. And here we go again. This is, like I said at the start, a really good feedback loop to get you to keep playing. But again, it has its limits. So with that said, we're not going to sit here and watch me play for another 6.5 minutes. We'll head back to the main screen for some of my final thoughts and to kind of recap the lessons learned here. So see you all in a pack second. Okay, so for our final part for this week's Dissecting Design, let's talk about some of the lessons here. The first one is the Championship Edition did a really great job of elevating the gameplay. And as we were talking about on stream, if you ever played Space Invaders Extreme, it is a very similar model as this, in the sense of it taking the gameplay and growing it in a unique direction. In Space Invaders, it was about creating an actual single-player campaign, while Championship Edition went for the multiplayer score-chasing crowd. And again, this is a game that does not feature complex controls. You're never going to confuse this for Dark Souls, but there's just enough of those advanced systems, in the form, again, of the corner edging, knowing to use bombs, and even advanced options like properly steering yourself to get as many ghosts for the chain, that help take it into that hardcore category without making the game feel like it's hardcore. Basically, anyone who grew up playing video games should be able to play Pacman Championship Edition to some level. But there's enough here that allows you to feel like you're growing and motivate you for doing so. As you can see on the right here with my achievements and medals, which apparently we can share on Facebook. But there's a lot here that basically rewards you for getting better at the game, but I kind of wish there was more things tied to the gameplay. As we said in the last section, things like having more variants on the boards, maybe some kind of super master version, stuff like that. But again, simplistic gameplay or streamlined gameplay doesn't have to mean dumbed down, and this is a great game to study if you want to see how you can take something very simple and basically stretch it as far as you can. For those of you watching this, can you think of other games besides this and Space Invaders Extreme that took a basic game design and took it forward, either iterating on it to make it more complex or elevating what's there to essentially its master form, like this? Let me know in the comments below, but thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're new, and check back Mondays for Dissecting Designs in the future, and daily videos on game design and the industry here. Thanks again, and next week, we'll have another dissecting to do. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. For my runnings as well as weekly podcasts, check out game-wisdom.com. For ways of supporting Game Wisdom and get access to rewards such as VIP status, as well as voting for the Saturday Night Grab Bag, check out patreon.com/gwbycer. You can follow me on Twitter at gwbycer for my daily thoughts as well as updates as to what's going on. So, thanks again for watching, and be sure to check out our next video coming real soon to the channel.